because it's very contentious and they're fighting for every fucking inch. And this is why, because every inch is important, this is why new ideas are relevant, because the parties, you notice the Republican Party created a much quote-unquote bigger tent this time. The reason they created a bigger tent is because they can't afford to alienate people that have ideas like the ideas that we've been sharing in this room.
Yeah, and on that same vein, American, you need a foundation, like you said, you need a bench. What happens at the higher level happens first in the local level. So whatever counties in Illinois that you're going through, you got to make sure you have that bench of people, because those are the people that are going to get to change what's happening at the top. Yes, you're right. There's a lot of things that's going on, but at the same time, you got to realize that if you do not have that foundation, whatever you build is going to collapse. So you want to make sure you get that foundation. Local, local, local. And yes, what's happening in your state house and also what happens in Congress and the Senate is there. So we just need to make sure that that's happening. Whatever you're doing, when I say I'm not a person that's ever going to run, my wife wouldn't let me in the first place, and I respect her voice in my life. But one of the things I always say, people who do run, whatever you do, don't criticize the other party or the other person. Talk only about what you do, because the fuel that you get from always focus on what you're going to do, people will always respect you. The moment you get into the dirt and all of the, bashing the other person and what they're doing, they want to know solutions. And when you give people solutions, they'll support you. So it's one of the areas. There's a way to allow someone else to attack, but if you're the person running American, don't be the attack dog. Get someone else to do it, and it changes you. That's all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have learned that here on Clown House. I would say El Normo has been great in giving me, suggestions on how to communicate with people who I can get agitated with. But I agree with you. And, I just think that the spending problem, the borrowing and the spending problem, is the fact that none of these major issues that have come up would be possible without all the borrowing and spending, particularly COVID-19. Pfizer even threw out like $30 billion worth of inventory that the government paid for. The fact of the matter is, I'm pretty much against big pharma and big health insurance. The middleman in health insurance and the amount of money they take from us every year is insane.
No, I agree. But can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a question. Where do you think all these things happen? Do you think they happen in a vacuum? See, every group needs customers. We, the people, are their customers. And if you don't inform your citizenry, we're going to miss out. We have 50 independent countries. 50 independent states here in our country. 50 independent states. We're supposed to have 348 million independent people. We don't. We have a lot of people that are drugged by government. Really drugged. I'm not talking about like big pharma. I'm talking about they believe that government is going to solve their issues and solve their problems. This is where you got to get to the local community to let them know that they're responsible for their life. That's the most important thing. And too many people don't do that. So we can talk all day about the big problems, but if you don't start attacking the people that can change it, because you need all those voters, those local people that really don't understand themselves, and they don't understand how government actually operates. And that's where you're going to really find it. And too many, what I call people politicking, don't teach governance. I try to share with people in California, you're responsible for your own life. No one's coming to your rescue. And don't expect government to govern your life. And politicking, like what Joe B's talking about, critical race theory is politics. Okay? If you don't get people involved that don't understand that, then they're going to miss out. Because you got to learn how to teach people that there's no. We know that critical race theory is being taught, But if you don't realize that you're an independent human being, you're going to miss out on a lot of things. What I believe is responsibility, not my race.
So something that I think gets missed, like when independents or third parties are running, the missed opportunity is in building that infrastructure. So let's say if you have people that come to your door and say, hey, I heard what you had to say, I want to help, what can I do? Oftentimes they're met with, oh, well, I don't know, and you don't have a job for them. I would go look at what churches do. If you walk into any church in America that's well organized and you just say, oh, it's my first time here, somebody in that church is going to talk to you and figure out why you came, what it is that you need, where you're at in your life. And the moment that you hint that like you'd like to get involved in some way, they will have a job for you to do immediately. And so the important thing to remember is that if you're building a campaign or a movement, there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and you need to be familiar with all of the little things. So let's say somebody comes that is probably not the type of person that you want to put on a panel speaking about issues, but they want to help. You find ways that they can help, and you tell them, hey, would you be willing to organize a sign wave where you just get people that literally all they have to do is show up at a location with signs that you've designed and then just wave the signs. Now you might say, fuck sign waves. The point is you're building an organization where you're giving people an assignment of what they can do. And then from there, you can identify what their skill set is and how else they can help. Maybe they have some administrative skills. Maybe they are a good public speaker. But you have to give them a purpose. You have to give them something to do immediately to get plugged in.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, it's basically like starting a Scientology organization or a direct response marketing campaign. And, you know, you can't lose them. They're going through my funnel, essentially. But, you know, I'm going to post ads on Craigslist soon to the top 10 towns and try to recruit political activists in the government section of Craigslist and post maybe job ads in Facebook Marketplace. There's a lot of little ways to try to like spam the people in these towns. I think Facebook Marketplace could be a good place to do it even. So it is about creating that network. I mean, I'm using Wix to do the website right now. It sucks. So in terms of like, you know, campaign volunteer lead capture or voter lead capture, I have to, you know, get all that created and put up and promote it. So it is a lot of work. It's basically like starting an online business. And, but, you know, it's what it is. So I thank you, Roger, for maybe helping me, you know, in the future and right now as well. And I think even like, you know, for that, because I'm filming all of this, it is content. So, you know, but it's like dead content, meaning that no one is even watching it. And let alone nobody in Peoria or Rockford, the top two towns, know my name. So it's a huge upward journey over till March of, you know, next year. So August, September, October, November, December. I mean, I've got basically 5 months to get 2,500 ballot signatures and, you know, lead this campaign, because the other enemy of mine is the weather. It's impossible to do any type of, you know, transportation basically January and February leading up until the primary. So all this work has to get done over the next 150 days. So if anybody is interested in helping me with this campaign to get into Congress, text me at 312-498-0517 or go to johnforcongress.com. It's just, I just have a little mission statement on there on that Wix website. Or follow me on Instagram at instagram.com/John Kitover. Just go to IG and type in JOHNKIT over. Add me there and message me there, and I will reply. And I, you know, Clubhouse has been a 5 to 6 year journey now of really putting up close to 40,000 videos of Clubhouse, you know, recordings and conversations, generating millions of views. And it's been, to me, it's been a fun art comedy and political project, because I think in the back of my mind, I always knew that, creating all this content, even if I don't have a lot of followers, the guy I'm running against has equally not a lot of followers. But he does on Facebook, over 22,000 likes on his Facebook page. So he probably ran meta ads. But my point is, in terms of like establishing credibility or doing research on what people are talking about or what, the political sentiment is, but also really just trying to rectify myself in terms of, what agitates me, what triggers me, what gaslights me. Can I listen to people, sling all kinds of nonsense and still remain, calm and be cool? Like somebody said earlier, don't attack the man or the woman, attack the idea and present solutions to address people's concerns and what's happening. So I think we're in a debt spiral. And I think that, we're going to fuck around. We're fucking around, and we're going to find out what it means to go to 40 trillion, to 50 trillion in debt, to 60 trillion in debt. It's people in 2050, 2070 that may see, an extremely new set of rules that they have to abide by, because the United States of America is diminishing in its liberty and in its power, and basically giving it all up to an international banking cartel, which is separate from our own government. So I think Trump is doing the right thing in his meeting with Chairman Powell, where he's showing him, multi-billion-dollar overrun on a piece of paper. Powell looked like a clown. Trump looked like the boss. So a lot of it is about framing and, communication and transparency. And Massey and Rand Paul are calling to audit and end the Fed. I mean, Rand Paul today just said, he thinks we're in the early stages of ending the Federal Reserve. So, this is, I think now is the biggest pivot point in American history, because either we're going to keep running this debt up and borrowing and spending, or we are going to essentially reestablish American liberty and, freedom for we the people. I mean, because it's ours. And unfortunately, if we don't demand more and possibly be greedier, we're going to give it all away, and nobody's going to get anything. So those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. Thank you.
Edward Glenn, I haven't seen you in this app for a long time. How you been, man? Guess Mr. Lynn is not around.
He's in the death care business.
Oh, he's at the doctor's visit. Got it.
No, I'm saying he's he runs a mortuary business. But Anthony, let me ask you, if you were the president of the United States of America, what would you do for we the people?
So what would I do? For we the people, my top priority as president would be to address deficit. So it would be a combination of raising revenues, which, I like the idea of tariffs, believe it or not, I'm a fan. I like the idea of cutting government, huge cuts, savage cuts. I don't like a means test for Social Security. I don't think we should just send out Social Security to everybody that paid into it.
you is with regards to reciprocal tariffs, or just give a hypothetical, the car import and export and manufacturing industry. If China doesn't allow us to import, whether it's financial services or auto cars we manufacture, don't you think that tit for tat or reciprocal tariffs, or our group, our cartel of manufacturers, we're going to help push the Chinese in a direction that's good for our business, our businesses. So how do you essentially do reciprocal tariffs, or how do you use tariffs strategically to get our exports into countries that are rejecting our exports?
So I guess the exports thing is a conversation that I'm not an expert on, but when you think about the tools, the instrument of a tariff, and if you take Trump at his word of what it is he's trying to, the problem he's trying to solve for, I think the best thing we can hope for is when you take somebody like, you take China, for example, where they have this aggressive plan to put a massive automobile plant right on the American border in Texas. And then immediately after the tariffs were announced, the plans of that facility went away. I think the follow-up conversation needs to be, hey, you want to avoid tariffs? Why don't you put that plant you were thinking of putting on the border, why don't you put that in Detroit? And some people will balk at that and say, wait a minute, you want to help a Chinese company sell automobiles? Well, if a Chinese company can create American jobs, I wouldn't care if they made money doing it. I think that you're either going to have to draw a hard line in the sand and say we don't want to fucking do anything with China, or we say if you want to participate in this consumer base rather than the tariffs, a better option would be, why don't you create American jobs? Which, by the way, I think we're headed towards. There's a lot of talk that Xi is out of power soon, and the folks that are likely to take over are less chummy with Russia and absolutely more keen on repairing relationships with the West. And if this is true, it can be very, very interesting, including there's a contentious border that China and Russia share, that China, as part of their 100-year plan, was to annex this land and get it back, with a weakened Russia because of the mistakes that Putin's making. If we became really friendly with China again, that could give, if they knew that they didn't have to have international condemnation, and maybe we would even condone it, you could see China just go and annex parts of Russia. And I know that might sound ridiculous to people, but you should go and read what people in China are saying about this. In fact, they're saying that now is the best time for them to do it because the Russian military is busy. And the only capability they would have to even try to stop it would be nuclear weapons. But I don't think that they would do that with China because that would end them. So I think all of this fear mongering around China could be coming to an end. And if it does, we may end up seeing history write the narrative that Donald Trump is the greatest president of all time because of the tensions that happened prior to him coming in, and his focus was on bringing China back, to be a good player on the international scene. And if that happens, like, the history books, unless they want to lie about it, they would have to say that that Trump is one of, if this all happens, if it plays out, Trump becomes in the argument for the greatest president of all time.
So I think that Xi is absolutely out. His days are without a doubt numbered. I think the people waiting in the wings are way, way, way more pro-America, America friendly than Xi's ever been. Luck is always a factor in the way you're remembered historically, and I do think is it may seem one of the greatest presidents in history, hands down. Like, you know, there's so many predictions about, like, you know, the tariffs, what they were going to do to the economy, that have proven thus far not to be true at all. There's so much in terms of, like, they don't even give him flowers on the most basic level for the stuff that he is accomplishing. You know, such as the revenues raised by tariffs. You know, if like it, hate it, I'm not a fan of the Big Beautiful Bill. But let's be honest, he's a politician. He needed some kind of signature legislation. This was the most palatable thing that he could get through. He barely got it through. Barely. You know, like a tie break in the Senate. You know, a couple of votes in the House. This was not an easy sell. So, yeah, like, what do we want gridlock? Do we want to, you know, constantly go to the 11th hour and ask for, you know, some kind of temporary spending measures? Like, that's not effective. So, given the hand that he had, he's playing the cards the best way he knows how. And, you know, like, love it, hate it, whatever, it's thus far it's been pretty darn effective. He's one of those people that believes that returning the money to the public as opposed to the government spending the money is preferable. He thinks that the government is doing it So when I say that the reason why I make the argument he's done that, Roger, is by cutting taxes. That is taking money from the government's coffers and returning it to the people. So I don't think that we can debate whether or not he's cut taxes. I think that's self-evident. So I say yes, he has done that. Are you rebutting that?
I support the tax cut. The tax cut doesn't do what you just said. The tax cut refers to giving people a break on what they need to pay. Nobody's getting a fucking refund.
I'm not suggesting that people are getting a refund. What I'm saying is tax cuts. It's less revenue through taxes, and they return the money. The less revenue is raised comes back in the form of Americans having more money in their pocket. They can now potentially, you know, do that addition to the house that they've been putting off, but now they find themselves with more money. Therefore, stimulating a part of Social Security.
How about this? What if we just admit that it's a Ponzi scheme and we say that those that have paid into it for whatever, we're gonna make sure that you are made whole, but we're gonna stop the 6.25% tax, and we're going to draw down. And instead of the trust fund going broke in 2035, by 2035 there will be no new people added to Social Security. What do you think?
Well, let me,
I
Anthony.
think it's a radical idea.
Anthony, let me interrupt you real quick and ask Mojo a question. Mojo, don't you think that doing huge cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, or the NDAA, let's say we cut spending by 40%, in 1 year. I mean, it's just imaginative, fictional thought. In the same way that young Bima yesterday, has these fantastic anarchic type of visions. Like, it's not going to happen. And what I'm saying is, like, in a way, like, if you do cut spending, dramatically and drastically, will it create the anarchy that we think it's holding back?
The answer to that is that we have three choices here. Three choices that I can identify. If you want to identify a fourth choice, it's fine. We can continue what we're doing today, and we will slowly die. We could increase spending dramatically and accelerate the doomsday scenario, or we can try to acknowledge the problem and alleviate it and dramatically cut the spending. I understand that status quo is the most likely scenario and that slow death. I'm saying that somewhere along the line, I'm hoping that a bold, innovative, charismatic leader will emerge that can give us the tough talk that we need and can let people know that, like, these are the choices. And, while everybody else has been, for electability's sake, has just said, let's continue to kick the can down the road. And then if you could just illustrate at what point in time all of this does collapse, and let people know that, look, this is going to be on your kid's lap, on your grandkid's lap, that the American experiment could end if we don't fix this. And so I think it's dire enough for us to at least fucking try. But if you're asking me, do I think it's likely that it happens? No, the answer is no. I think that there are people that are more interested in the immediate grift and the power grab that they can do now than they are about fixing and sustaining the economy of the United States of America. I'm acknowledging that it's unlikely, but I think it's important enough to try to take that puncher's chance.
So, Roger, I'll be honest with you. I think that the scenario you said is the most likely, that, kick the can down the road, is clearly, where we're headed. I don't think that we'll ever see a charismatic enough leader that's going to sell what needs to be done to the American people. It's just, I don't like, our system is structurally set up to prevent that from happening. It just won't happen. Now, there's a different problem that I think that's really coming to the fore, and it's coming really fast. I feel that the system is broken. The game is already over. It's not even, it's like we might be worried about the wrong thing. I think that we are going to have to fundamentally change the idea of America. I think we're going to have to become a socialist nation. I think that when you combine artificial intelligence and automation, that there is no other path forward.
I just don't see the amount of real jobs, labor.
Wait, Anthony, I want to interrupt you real quick. Mojo, can you maybe address what Anthony is saying? Because he thinks we're going to become a socialist nation. Can you tell him what Milton Friedman would say with regards to economic theory and philosophy and optimization and productivity? Can you maybe give him an economic response to his socialistic, perspective?
Yeah, I mean, if we head in that direction, then we lose all of the incentives to become more efficient, to do the things that would lower prices for consumers, that would invest in R&D. You would essentially erode all of the incentives that would lead to things that would allow you to stay on top. If we head down that road, what we're essentially going to say is that we're going to, instead of investing in growth, instead of trying to innovate the best products and the things that can change our future in a positive way, we are going to then, instead, we're going to waste the money by spreading it among the people. And I think what you're going to find is the inefficiency of doing that is going to just accelerate the collapse. I don't think that solves a single problem, and there's not a single example on a global scale that you can point to where people become more efficient because of these types of policies.
So, Raj, do you see another path forward? Like, given the daunting scale of artificial intelligence, do you see another way out of this scenario?
Yes, we win the AI war and win it significantly by allowing. I would deregulate the fuck out of the market and allow innovation to be the investment. And we have to win the AI and the robotics war. And when we do that, I think that there could be force multipliers of revenue that we see from that. Because one of the biggest expenses that we have is labor. There's a world in which we don't necessarily need to work because the companies would become so fucking profitable. Now, that would lead you into this conversation about, well, okay, then we'll have UBI. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe what emerges is an economy, because everything that happens, has secondary and third, impacts. And what I would say would be more realistic is that when the labor work is being performed by machines, I think that the economy is going to turn into nothing but service and entertainment. I actually can envision the world being a much better place where you have more people playing guitar, playing drums, singing, drawing, dancing, and more people wanting to consume that. And I think that entertainment and service, hospitality, is going to be how human beings are going to thrive moving forward. That's what I think.
So, Roger, I would state that there's just not enough entertainment and or service to keep people earning enough to have the economy continue the way it's been going. I think that there's a peak to how much entertainment and service you can have.
I think you maybe you missed the part that I didn't say out loud, but I thought about, I inferred that solves for this, is that if AI and robotics make us as productive as I think it will, we won't need to tax human beings. Human beings won't need to fund the government, won't need to fund the military or infrastructure or any of those things, because the productivity that gains that we see from AI and from robotics, everything will be funded and people will be allowed to, if you had no taxation in your life, imagine the burden that's lifted and how much more free you would be to participate in the activities that you enjoy.
Roger, what I'm saying to you is that there won't be any taxes because there won't be anyone working, because the efficiency of the artificial intelligence and the robots, there won't be anyone earning income. So the idea of taxes, it's irrelevant. This is what I think you're missing. Like, this, people won't earn an income. There won't be labor. There won't be opportunities to differentiate yourself in the capitalistic system. And
Anthony, Mojo is presenting. Mojo is presenting the greatest possible utopian vision imaginable, and it's so imaginative. I mean, he's claiming that it solves income problems because of the productivity increase. But Mojo, don't you think that's a utopian vision you have?
No, it fundamentally doesn't. And before we get to utopia, let's talk dystopia. Let's talk about the dystopia. Where are people earning money from that they aren't paying taxes on? This is the part that's missing. This is very odd to me.
Well, Anthony, can I ask you a question? Are you a free market person?
I'm a free market person, but I'm saying to you that automation is going to kill that.
Okay, but let's back up. So you say you're a free market. What and how do you currently have investments? What do you currently invest in?
My primary investment is in real estate.
Okay, so that's a good one because they're not making any more real estate, right? So at one point, people are still going to need housing. That means someone still has to build it. And if the robots break down, someone has to build them. But here's my question: outside of real estate, do you know the majority of Americans who are actually earning money do not do that on a job? They do that through investment.
Okay, so Edward, this is what I want. Like, succinctly, I want you to explain to me how people are going to earn money. This is, I don't like companies, stock market, revenues, price to earnings. Where are these earnings coming from? How can consumers consume if they can't earn money to consume? These are very basic things that I'm trying to understand.
I know, but Anthony, I think when you say basic things, okay, if I understand where you're coming from, you don't think that we're going to be able to produce anything. You're so private sector that you think the private sector in innovation, Roger just told you, if we go out and innovate, which has made America what it is today, the human being will always be a producer. That's not going to stop. And just because we have a tool called AI, that tool was created by us. It doesn't create itself. And regardless of what you and I think,
you're wrong. It does create itself. Robots building robots.
Andrew, hold on. I want you to hear yourself. Because I don't know why we actually personally believe that AI is the what's the word I want to use? AI is what?
But will that AI, and all this AI that's going to make DMVs, for example, really efficient, right?
Because a larger scale of the Industrial Revolution. I mean, if you think about the Industrial Revolution, we were able to we could replace physical labor with machines, right? And now we're going to be able to replace some jobs that required thought. When we replaced the labor, the physical labor with machines, the economy actually grew. There's really no example. You might see some jobs disappear, but this catastrophe that people are calling for, that they think that, or that they're making this prediction that there will be less jobs because of this, I think that what we don't know is what this is free people up to be more innovative. And I personally believe, and if you look at human history, if you look at all the great inventions that we've made in the past, while they might disrupt a particular sector or two, they ultimately end up creating way more jobs than they.
Roger, I would have agreed with you prior to what's going on now. It is completely different this time. And I don't think we are.
Anthony, I mean, haven't you heard of the expression, there's nothing new under the sun, Anthony?
America, respectfully, bro, how about this, right? I would like you to add your ideas to the discussion. I'd like to have something meaty from you, so I can chew into it and say, okay, this is what he believes. I have no idea what you believe. I hear cheerleading, I hear, question asking. I don't know what your opinion is. I don't even know if you have an opinion. I would love to hear.
You don't think I have an opinion?
These are my thoughts. I don't know if you have. I haven't heard one yet, and I'm not trying to be funny or criticize you. This is a crazy small stage. This is a beautiful environment for us to really talk freely. And I want to know what your ideas are. How do you feel about AI and robotics? What do you know about AI and robotics? Why do you think that it's going to lead to, instead of like job destruction, to job growth? These are the reasons I believe that this is going to happen. And I can say, well, I'm going to counter it with X, Y, and Z. That's what I'd love to do that.
So Anthony, here's the thing. Here's what's on my side, is that at no time in human history has creating more efficient tools eliminated more jobs than it's created. And so I have the historical evidence that creating efficiency tools creates more jobs. What do you have to support your argument that we're going to have less jobs?
Okay, so what I have is a paradigm shift unlike anything we've ever seen. What I'm saying to you, this is not like anything that came before it. It would make sense if it wasn't a situation where the AI can actually exceed us in every facet. Everything. It can do way better than us, way faster than us.
You can't even create a fucking image of a human being without putting 8 fingers on it.
Okay. Roger, if we were to stop and we were to talk about, like, where AI is currently, it's in its infancy. This is brand spanking new. The idea that, the image problems that they were having in 2022 still exist in 2025, I would vehemently disagree with that. But that's, like, Roger, I hear a lot of Luddite arguments right now that have fundamental. Yeah, Edward, I can't talk at the same time as you, Jan. I really can't. So, yeah. With that said, like, I hear this is like, it's like, we're talking about stuff that I guess maybe some people just don't get. They don't have their fingers on the pulse.
Anthony, if I can respectfully interrupt you, I want to respectfully interrupt you, Anthony, and ask you a quick question. What do you think the following saying means? If you can say it, it is not true. What do you think that saying means? If you can say it, it is not true. What do you think that ancient Native American saying means to you?
I have no idea.
Okay, well, when I say if you can say it, it is not true, that means you're kind of doing what a lot of other people do here with this all or nothing AI position statement. A lot of people think America's going to collapse. And a lot of people say that America's going to disintegrate in 10 years. And you know what I say to those people, Anthony? If you can say it, it is not true. So, the more you think, the more you speak, the further from the truth you're going to get. And I think you could go all day with this all or nothing position on AI and robotics. And so again, I'll just say, if you can say it, it is not true. So I would question what you think you're saying.
And respectfully, the same thing, Anthony. Roger asked you a direct question. Please explain the jobs that is going to create.
Okay, no. My position is that AI is going to destroy jobs. Roger didn't ask me to explain the jobs that it's going to create because that goes against my position, Edward. What I'm saying to you is like, whether if we're talking about, just name a profession. Name a profession. If we're talking about like the surgeon, one second, Edward. I'm literally still talking. I'm deferring to the mods, but I'm still talking right now. So here's what's up. If we're talking about surgeons, there's going to come a point at which people are going to look back and say, I can't believe you actually let a human being operate on you. That was the craziest shit I ever heard in my life. Whether we're talking about transportation, we're gonna come to a point where truck drivers, cars will not be controlled by human beings. It will be, the insurance companies won't allow it. They will not. It's going to be so cost prohibitive that they're not going to allow people to drive. There's so many industries, man. I'm trying to find an industry where AI is not going to have an impact. I think, that's where I think that's a more interesting conversation.
Can I give you one?
Plumbing.
Yeah, plumbing.
AI can absolutely do plumbing, electrician, HVAC. It can absolutely do all of that.
Okay,
With robotics, absolutely.
Okay, Anthony. Okay, we have storms, right? I want to ask you a question. Please explain to me from the storm viewpoint. Earthquakes, high rises falling, all kinds of different things. I live in California. We had a bunch of fires going on. What is going to prevent all these things? And how is AI going to handle those particular items? And right now, with all the flooding that just took place and everything else, where and how are we going to use your robotics, your AI, to help all the natural events that actually take place? Because we need people to really go on those polls and change all that. But you're clearly saying, and I make sure I'm understanding, that all that is going to be replaced by AI.
So, if we're talking about search and rescue, the artificial intelligence enabled robots will be better than any human being, any dog sniffing, that's looking for people. It will identify the faintest heartbeats from the furthest distance, and it's going to be able to excavate and move stuff that the average human being could not move, and find and search and rescue people. And this is not. It'll have LiDAR and radar type sensors that can look beneath debris and find human beings. And I don't understand, is that climbing poles? Like, this is what you got? This is the best that you got? We can do so much better, Edward. This is Edward. It's not.
Anthony, you can't do that. Okay, Anthony, listen. Right now, we got men all over the country who still climb poles. What you're sharing with me, I hear you loud and clear. But again, we have new innovation. We have robotics. We have all these things which were created by the human being. Okay? That's who created it. Okay? Don't get it twisted. I don't know why we're limiting and want to replace us with robots. I just don't understand. You said, climbing the pole, is that the best half? Yes, that's the best half. You know why? Because there is no way in the world you're replacing Edward. Okay? Yes, I will use the tools. I will. Yes, you got to do it. You can laugh at it. At the end of the day, we got to laugh at it. Because listen, this is probably why most of us right now are not critical thinkers, because we're relying on the AI and the robots. Go ahead,
Joe, you got it. I'll go after you.
Well, I'll be short. I was involved with the first set of internet development, and it began by humans inputting all of the data that got it up and going, and expanded now today into AI. The more and it expanded because, quote, the internet has run out of space in terms of collecting the data, and now AI is taking over to expand it. It's the new generation of computerization. You got to get used to it. I don't like it. It's what it is.
Joe, respectfully, I have no idea what you just said. This idea that the internet ran out of space, I don't know what you mean by that.
All right, I'll expand. The internet was only developed to answer questions, not theorize or critical think, air quotes. AI is being utilized to critically think. Ask anyone who is in IT in the military. Just ask them.
You know, if we want efficiencies, the efficiencies have to be applied to the government. The amount of accounting and bookkeeping required just to file your taxes. Have you seen the IRS hand manual, the micro print, the thousands of pages of information? It's incomprehensible and unusable. It means nothing to the average person filing a tax return. So, again, a lot of this comes out to Congress, your senator, and your congressman, borrowing from the Federal Reserve to continue funding a broken system that enslaves you, traps you, and causes you more work than you need to do. Should you spend 2 days out of your annual year filing your taxes and getting your car's emissions tested? They waste our time on shit that technology can clearly and easily resolve. And we're all paying property taxes and income taxes to fund a government that is borrowing on top of the money we're already giving them. This insanity has to come to an end. It's my opinion. But people who are all or nothing on AI, it's like you think the reality just got invented or something. I mean, this is tens of thousands of years of progress to get here. And just because there's an AI chatbot that can create incredibly well-formulated sentences in response to you, don't be easily confused with regards to intelligence and spam. ChatGPT and the way people use it is like rats in a fucking cocaine testing box. It's dopamine and spam, and it's not making people smarter. It's making people into automatons.
All right, cool story, bro. I want to talk about like practical.
You know what? Cool story to you, Anthony. Go ahead and tell us your cool story, sir. I can't wait to hear your cool story. Go ahead.
No problem.
Go ahead. Let's hear this cool story, Anthony.
There's no problem. I'm happy to tell my cool story, right? My cool story is like one of the most innovative, prolific inventors known to man, Elon Musk, has been promising self-driving vehicles for over a decade. Over a decade now. This would not be possible. We would not reach robo-taxi level of autonomy were it not for the innovation of artificial intelligence. We could not program our way into self-driving vehicles. There was too many edge cases, too many weirdo scenarios that you just could not program for. Tesla has more video data behind the wheel of an automobile than any other company in the world. It has fed that data into its supercomputers, and it has taught these cars how to drive orders of magnitude better than human beings. This is the practical.
Cool story, bro.
American, I'm sorry if I hurt you. I was just messing around. I didn't mean anything by it. It's a small stage. I don't want to.
Well, the point is, park your car. The point is, park your car, sir. Since we have this incredible supercomputer, get to your point, Dr. Anthony.
No, American brother. I specialize neutralize that disrespect. I'm really good at it. I'm really, really good at it. All right? We have 6 people on stage here telling me to park my car. If you want me to get live, I'll get live with you. That's what I do.
Go ahead, Anthony. Get live.
Thank you for the moderation, Mojo.
Well, listen. I just want to make sure everybody feels that there's not imbalance here in this conversation. I don't mind if it turns contentious, or if you guys settle your differences a different way. But I'm here. I got my pop. Let's go.
I love it.
Hey, Mark Anthony, can we bring in AI to help us out? Because, I mean, we need to monitor this because we can't do it on our own.
Edward, humor is not your strong suit, man. You're a very pious man, and I have the utmost respect for you. But, like every man has his limitations, and clearly.
Well, thank you.
Maybe you can have AI write you some jokes again.
Anthony, I'm just.
I got a question. Who do we think Edward would be most like in terms of TV dads? Would he be Mr. Winslow? Would he be Mr. Huxtable? Who do we think? Maybe on Good Times. Who is the TV dad that Edward is most like? Anthony, what do you think?
I'm going with Cliff Huxtable. That's how I'm going. With the lovely Claire Huxtable, the lovely super cute family, and the kids that are all have done they're positive contributing members of society. That's what I'm rocking.
I was going with Mr. Brady, Roger.
I was gonna say perhaps Ward Cleaver.
Yeah, there you go. Now we're talking. See, now you give me some real steam. Now there you go. I take Mr. Cleaver anytime.
See, I don't think Bill Cosby would even be close to an accurate representation. I watched that show a lot as a kid, and in hindsight, and knowing what he did to women, whether it's true or not, he's free. But I don't ever remember God ever being mentioned on the Cosbys, not even once. And it's sad that
that is true, but I don't know which TV dad we can point to where God was featured prominently.
Well,
in there.
Isn't it Family Matters with Steve Urkel and that dad? He seemed like a Bible believer in the South Side of Chicago. He was a cop. But Bill Cosby, I wonder if that show is kind of indicative of who he is as a person, which is a predator.
Do you guys ever watch Rock?
Yeah, that's a good point. He didn't have any kids. Did he have kids? He had kids. I do think that you could.
There's an episode you guys should Google where some drug dealer comes to the house and he throws them out of the house. It was pretty badass. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty badass. But I don't think Edward's that volatile. I don't see the like that.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm going to tell you in my lived experience, and I've been told that that's the most important framing for any conversation, is that the people that speak softly and the people that remain calm, there's a trigger that can be pulled. And I would imagine that if you did the wrong thing, the thing that stepped over the line with Edward, I think there's a line you could cross where you would see a different version of him, and it's probably something that is uncomfortable for him.
One day Edward came into the room that I frequent and tried the Bible thumping, and they kicked him out of that room so fast. That shit was the funniest shit in the history of club.
I know, but Anthony, remember, this is the challenge that we have, that people don't want discourse. That's the funny thing.
Edward figured it out. The Steve
California. I mean, so, but Anthony, you're correct. But I'm going to still go back to Anthony. The Discord is better, and you and I can go back and forth always because I respect the fact that you have your own views, your own belief system. But when you go into a space and people don't even allow you to share whatever position you have, to me that tells me that you're weaker, you're not stronger. Because if you believe something and someone challenges your belief system and you can't stand up for it, why do you believe it?
Edward, I agree with you, and I wasn't happy that you got thrown out. It was just funny to me how it went down because it's like you were that, that voice of, from a religious perspective in a room full of heathens. And it was like they wanted no part of what you were selling. That, I saw the humor in that, but I'm not a fan of anybody getting kicked out. I've been kicked out of plenty of rooms. So
Anthony, let me ask you a question. You said earlier that you think America should go socialist. Why do you think that's an optimal economic model? And is that just a code word for you want to increase borrowing and spending in the future?
America, I didn't say that America should go socialist. I see no other outcome. That's my stance. I don't see any other possibility. I see the UBI on steroids as being the only plausible outcome. If you believe, like I believe, about AI, and it's an interesting argument that we're having on the stage about the prospects for AI. There are people that believe in the human spirit and human ingenuity, and that we got this, and it's just going to lead to a golden age. And there's people that see it very, very differently. I don't know how much the people that are pushing a certain point of view actually really know about the capabilities of AI. But it is what it is. I'm no expert. I'm not writing white papers on it. So, but I just don't see another outcome.
White and black, bro. Anthony, the funny thing is, like you said, it is in its infancy, and I like what Joe B said. These tools that we've had, at one point they said there'd be no more paper. Remember that? They're gonna get rid of paper. And Y2K came around. And we're gonna not have. I mean, there's so much stuff that people predict, and you're right. We do have autonomous cars, and we have all these things. But I still think, for me, I'm one of those people that believe in the human spirit. I believe in God. And like the young lady said in the chat, and you know this, Anthony, why would you get kicked out of anything just because I have a different standard where I believe that we should take care of our responsibility as men, that we should take care of the children that we have on the planet, that we should not be involved with women that's not our spouses, that we should not be using substance abuse to cause our families harm, that we should be responsible. I got kicked out of a space because I thought a different standard, and like what Sink said, I speak softly, but like Roger said, at the end of the day, you come from my family. I do believe in the Second Amendment very well, and my wife actually shoots better than I do. So we're not stupid people. And I tell people all the time, I believe in Christ, but at the same time, I'm going to protect my family.
Edward, I would never confuse you with a coward. I've never gotten that vibe from you. It just so happens that in the space that you were in, all of the things that you talk about, the people in that space overwhelmingly don't support it. And your standard,
the source code
was jarring. And they did not even feel the need to engage with you and refute your belief system. They thought it would be more expedient to drop kick you out the room. Now, listen, I find humor in all kinds of shit. And I found humor in that as well. I didn't like the fact that you got kicked out. I didn't like it. I wasn't a fan of it. If it was up to me, you would never have gotten kicked out of there. However, it was just that, like coming in Bible thumping in a room full of heathens is crazy work, bro. And I wish you good luck with that.
Well, Anthony, I will say this to you. It's so interesting. You say Bible thumping. But everybody can thump whatever they want anytime. And everybody's okay okay with it. We thought the side chick. We thought chicken and the big booties and breasts. That's what we thought. We thought not taking care of our families. We believe that the people sitting around who are white, we think they're thinking about black people. They're not. So when someone comes in with a reasonable understanding that you are 100% responsible for your own life, you have the opportunity to believe in God to get some assistance, and then all of a sudden, we promote. Yeah, that's like Six said. We promote LGBTQ. We support abortion. We support all these things. But no one comes in and says, hey, guys, just maybe in a different way. And you say, not you, Anthony, but the people in the room say, we don't hear about stuff. We don't hear nothing about no Christian nothing. I'm like, wow. And you're right. That day I got kicked out, I even told my wife, this is where we are today. We can't even have Discord anymore. At one point in America, we could have a conversation. We didn't disagree. And right at the end of the day, I thought it was sticks and stones would break our bones. But now we can't say gay. We can't say you got pronouns. All this stupid stuff going on, man. Maybe you're pregnant. We got drag queens. I'm sorry. Here's what I mean.
We can't show Edward. Let me ask you to retard anymore. Edward, let me ask you a direct question. Direct question. Do you think you're a religious zealot?
No, I do not. I think I'm a person who has a belief system that wants to share that system. But you can have that opinion. I don't know what that really means because I'm not a religious man at all. I just happen to believe in God. I think people like to label people. Like people say, you're ethnically black man. No, I'm actually responsible. No one's talking about the responsibility. Most people talk about ethnicity. I hear a lot of people talk about that. But I learned this, and correct me, Anthony, is excellence, is integrity, is responsibility. Does that have ethnicity on it? Or is that just excellence?
Not whatsoever. And if you've seen me in any of these clubhouse streets, you'll know that I certainly speak to that all the time. You know, and I get drowned out by certain people because of my belief system. So yeah, definitely. But according to your worldview, do you think there's multiple ways to get to heaven, or only one way to get to heaven?
I don't think there's no way to get to heaven. I don't think heaven was ever the goal. Not for Edward. I was created on the earth. I was not created in heaven. I do not believe the philosophy that people have. I believe that's why he's coming back. If heaven was our goal, I just die and go to heaven. But that's not the purpose. God never came to say, Edward, I want you to go to heaven. Actually, God wants Edward to live on earth and make sure he's doing right by the people on earth. I can't do anything in heaven. Zero. Cannot. Not even a little bit. So me dying and going to heaven is not like but being kind and respectful and give people an opportunity to listen to them and forgive my wife, forgive my children, they forgive me. I think that's a lot greater because I get to live that if I got on earth, not in heaven.
So, Edward, do you think that everyone is kind and is respectful and takes care of people is going to have eternal life?
If they choose to follow the principles of the Word of God, I think that the kindness of the human being would be better. Whether or not, it's not up to me that they have eternal life because I didn't set the rules. But I think that us showing each other kindness, like even just having this conversation around Anthony and talking, the respect that you have and I have, listening to each other. So I can't answer for other people because I don't know what people are going through inside their hearts. But I will endeavor every single day to be the best person I can be. And try my hardest to love myself so I can love my fellow man also.
To paraphrase you, because I can't remember word for word what you said, it sounded like you said if they had similar belief system to you, it would be better. If people that are kind and look out for them, but if they believed in the word, whatever word you use, it would be better. And that, I've been doing the tap dance with you, and I respect it completely. It's been a great back and forth, and I appreciate you, and I love the tone of it. But, I think that's like That's the zealotry, and I'm not knocking you for it. You know, I have some people that are extremely close to me. They're low key, they're zealots. You know what I'm saying? You know, but it is what it is. Like, a part of being a true believer is to be a zealot, and it's like I think that there's a lot of people.
Anthony, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So, I don't know how familiar you are with the Bible, and I'm not even identified as a Christian. Let's just put it this way. I've read it a time or two. There's not a lot of dust on my Bible. And my understanding is that you don't need to be a zealot. In fact, it illustrates very clearly that all that's required is faith, and they even quantify that you only need faith the size of a mustard seed. So I think you're just I think that what you're saying, it's your opinion, but it's not consistent with the teachings in the Bible.
That's cool. And I appreciate that. And I may very well be wrong, but my perception is that, you know, and it's deep because, you know, when we talk about like being kind and being good to people, I'm not under the impression that based on the Bible I've read, that that's a requirement to make it happen.
I like that, Anthony. But Anthony, you didn't ask me if it's a requirement. I gave you my observation. But did any of you guys have the opportunity to witness the funeral for the person that just died over in the United Kingdom? The Black Sabbath guy?
No, I didn't see it.
So you got look at some of the people who dressed up, the Black Sabbath, and all the things that they've done. Yet you say that. And I come with good intention, and yet I'm still calling it out every day. I wear that badge because I'm for what this man is saying somewhere. And you guys, I put it every day. I think I'll say Anthony.
So wait, and I'm glad you said that, right? It's not meant as an insult. And I think that, you know, like, it's, last week, Roger and I were having a back and forth. It was about tariffs and free market. And, you know, Roger is a self-proclaimed, like, free market zealot, right? He had an issue that day with tariffs. I don't know what his stance is right now, but and I think that, you know, having strong beliefs is okay. I don't like this time, like you said, you know, there's certain things that I hold true to me, and I'm a zealot about certain things.
What are you a zealot about?
I'm a zealot about my family. What are you a zealot about?
I'm a zealot about zealots, I suppose. People who make all or nothing statements all the time.
I'm a zealot about gun rights. I'm a zealot about free market capitalism. That's about it.
So,
I don't think I would ever use the term zealot for myself, but like I said, I would in the past because coming on Clubhouse and me getting kicked out of a room because people think I'm a Bible thumper, and only because I mentioned a couple of scriptures as a standard, it just shows me where our society has gone. And I think that what makes Clubhouse and why it is so what I call outside of the boundaries now, because we can't have discourse. I know people don't agree with everything Edward says. People have all kinds of belief systems. But for someone to come at someone who wants to do right, it's just interesting to me. That's all. I don't know how to answer it, because like you said, if it was a thing, you wouldn't kick me out. But can we not have discord anymore? Just having a conversation of what could be?
Speaking of Discord, are we talking about anything, or is this just like a bad discourse?
It it's a mega discourse. So Edward, like you keep on talking about people wanting to do right. This is part of the issue. Your idea about what's right versus what somebody else's idea about what's right, it doesn't make you correct in your assertion and them wrong. There's no moral imperative. I am not the standard bearer for the world. My belief system is not the standard for everybody else to be judged. Like you're speaking this idea of absolutes that that's kind of like going in line with the ideas I'm talking about.
Understood. Okay, so the challenge that you and I are going to have is that you have no absolutes, but you do have absolute AI is going to take over everything, and we're going to lose our jobs, and we're not going to have that. So you do have that absolute something, except in just being a good person. Now, if I say to you, me cheating on my wife is not absolutely wrong, or me going in and smashing and grabbing, or me doing something to violate another human being, I think that what you're saying when I say what's right, I believe that there are certain things that we all know that is what I would say good behavior, correct behavior. But you want to say, well, you're not morally correct for everybody. I'm not saying that. I've never said that. Because I can't choose for you or anybody else. But I do have a right as a person to share my viewpoint and my belief system if people want to accept it or not. But for you to say that you think I'm being morally for everybody else, that is entirely not true, because if I could be, we wouldn't have a lot of challenges that we currently have in the world.
Okay. We're getting kind of circular now, and it's cool. Listen, Edward, I like you. So Edward, I like you. I think you're a mom. Like, you stand on business. You have a belief system. You have ethics. You have a rule that you follow. And dude, like, we don't have to agree, but I like consistent people, and you're a consistent person. So it's there's fine details that we could explore and dig into and suss out the differences, but
it seems
I don't want to bore them to tears.
It seems to me like there's two types of people: the aggressive, obnoxious, antagonistic people, and the people that have found peace, solemnity, equilibrium, balance, and joy, and they don't spend their time getting angry or attacking people. And unfortunately, in the religious community and in the atheistic community, there are people within both of those communities that are very antagonistic. But it's the people who, in my opinion, that have found enlightenment, that have absorbed the wisdom and actually utilize it in their personality, that they have obtained the wisdom that's within the Bible and other books. And it's the antagonistic people that have not picked those books up in years and come on here and are very angry and very loud, very antagonistic, and they want to stir the pot and they want to poke the stick. Those people, to me, are obnoxious and low IQ. That's my opinion.
So, to me,
another cool story.
Anthony, I do like the discourse we had. What's up, Dwight? You haven't got opportunity to share anything.
Yeah, appreciate it. Man, I ain't gonna lie, I forget now. Y'all were talking about something. I was gonna speak to it, and that it's.
I think you were talking about AI when you were commenting in the chat, right? Yeah. And I love your name, White Man. It's pretty good.
Yeah, man. It's like my face was triggering people, so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna just lean into it. But I really don't know, though. I actually don't. I really just chill. Like, I have regular conversations, but whatever. So yeah, I forget. It was something that y'all were talking about AI, and I think I felt somewhere in the middle, but I forget the exact point I was going to make, but it's all good.
In the chat, I read where you said that you agreed with everything I was saying except for one point. I was curious to know if you remember what that one point was. Maybe me saying that might jog your memory. It might not. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. So basically, I do remember now. So you were talking about how, like the other people in the conversation were kind of disagreeing. Like they were saying, AI can't even do this, it can't even do that. And you're like, no, y'all don't understand. Like it not only can do that, but it's already doing that. And while you acknowledge that, Roger had made the point that, listen, we've recovered from these sorts of changes every time, which I agree with. But you basically responded that, look, I get that, but this is unprecedented, right? So I agree with you on that. I think that the one place where I disagree is that I fall somewhere in the middle, because all of the people that were responding saying AI can't do this, AI can't do that, I think that's very, very misleading. Tech is actually kind of like my background before I started doing what I do now, so I have a kind of foot in, foot out of the tech world. But I think people are very much misunderestimating the application and how broad the applications of this is going to be and how many jobs it will replace. And it's not even debatable. It's not even a question. Especially if you're a person that is pro capitalism. Listen, if I'm a company and I want to make money, and I want to keep my costs low, AI is going to be my number one goal right now. Anything that I can automate and make less cheap to make it happen, I'm going to do that. I don't give a fuck about your humanity. I want to hire humans. I'm sure there's going to be some companies that do that, but let's be honest, they're going to do what makes the most fucking money at the end of the day. So I think the only place where I disagree with you, and I think Roger has kind of a point, when it comes to kind of historically how these things work, what happened to all the telephone operators? What happened to all the people that serviced payphones? You know what I'm saying? We have all of these examples of ways where what actually ends up happening is the jobs that are needed just tends to shift. So I think that it's just not so doomsday scenario for me. I do have a little bit of optimism, and that's one place where I do agree with Edward. I do agree with just human will and the ability of us as a society to kind of figure things out to some extent. But it's definitely it would be due to us shifting how we operate in society, not due to we're just gonna hire people because it's the right thing to do. Corporations, companies that are trying to make a profit, and especially if you're publicly traded with your literal fiduciary duties to your shareholders, you have to do that. You will literally, the board is going to remove you if you don't utilize AI and utilize everything that's available to you. I mean, you have a legal obligation to do that. So I think
there's a lot. Dwight, there's a lot of executives that don't do what's in the best interest of the shareholders. I can assure you.
Oh yeah, and I'm not. I was being a little bit hyperbolic, but I'm just saying, I think you're, as a CEO, as one of the people that's running a company, your shareholders are going to definitely be looking at you a certain way if you say everybody else is using AI for X, Y, Z in your industry and you're not, especially if your company starts falling behind and these other companies start to be more competitive. So that's something that's going to be, and also I think where I agree with.
Hey Dwight, real quick, not to cut you. Something you'll see on Clubhouse will happen during this time. Right? You can say something that's that's pretty obvious, that's generally true, that most people would agree with, and then you're gonna have somebody that's gonna come off of their mic and they're gonna bring up some kind of edge case or some kind of they're gonna say something to contradict what you just said, which was perfectly reasonable. I don't know why people constantly do that on Clubhouse.
It's called the opposite position, Anthony. It's how you get to the silver lining.
It's just very, very, very odd. the conversation forward. It's not. It doesn't make the conversation more interesting.
That's just like your opinion.
I do want to address the points that you're making, that nuance where we might not see eye to eye on. You know, the other night I had dinner with a buddy of mine. He used to, back in the days, he was an A&R executive for a very big record label. And, you know, I was sitting with for